Tossing Grenades at Windmills podcast.
Welcome to a special episode of the Tossing Grenades at Windmills podcast. This is not part of a series, but it is a follow-up to a comedy episode I did earlier wherein I made fun of J.K. Rowling and her hold on Harry Potter because I have long felt that copyright is really messed up in the United States. And I haven't done a lot of the other episodes I'd originally planned to do because of outright depression at the fact that 72 million people in the United States decided that voting for Trump was a really good idea. But last night I learned about something that was so outrageous, it bypassed my depression and forced me to need to say something, which is that apparently the legal thugs at Disney decided that because Disney bought the rights to Star Wars from Lucasfilm, that they didn't need to pay royalties to Alan Dean Foster or other authors who Lucas had previously a legal obligation with, which is needless to say, unique interpretation of American law, and would be immediately tossed out of any court that it went to. But of course, Disney being Disney, and the most egregious and virulent and violent copyright shark, going against people who have even legitimate parody, and helping to create the abomination that is the Digital Millennial Copyright Act, is not only able to wait out the clock on a cancer patient, but they are also able to engage big tech to suppress trends, because the more I look, the more outraged anyone who has any creative interest and copyrights of their own is concerned at Disney's outright blatant thievery. And I felt that we should have a discussion about what I hear every time when I say we should shorten copyright of, all these poor starving artists don't get paid, for their work. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the vast bulk of copyright is held by corporations that routinely screw over their people, right? If we had realistic and humane copyright duration, then when a lunatic like J.K. Rowling goes off the reservation, anybody can make a Harry Potter story, right? Or when the Beatles want to get their rights back, somebody like Michael Jackson can't just buy up the rights for 100 years, right? So for every case where an individual artist or writer or musician wants to provide passive income to their family for the next 3,000 years, there are literally 100 examples of a company or a corporation screwing creative people out of their royalties or their rights. Don't tell me about the rights of the author in copyright reform when Disney isn't even paying their own people. If Walt Disney cannot pay royalties when they acquire the copyright, then Walt Disney should not be allowed to have the copyright. Copyright needs to be shortened, and if you don't pay royalties, if you even play around with it, there needs to be a unique court of appeal, and it says, Disney, you have 60 days to pay everything that you owe, or you lose the rights. Full stop. Full stop. The fascists who like to lock down copyright, who like to lock down ideas, don't have a moral leg to stand on. They do not. When things from literally 100 years ago are locked up in copyright jail and are earning money for large impersonal corporations instead of the people that actually, or the descendants of the people that actually did the actual work, then the case should be made to make copyright 20 years. Full stop. No extensions, no loopholes, 20 years. Full stop. If copyright was 20 years, J.K. Rowling wouldn't have the copyright to Harry Potter anymore. And so she would no longer be the definitive voice of whatever random transphobic piece of shit dribbles out of her mouth. George Lucas would no longer have the ability to go back and take the original amazing theatrical releases of Star Wars and change them to the point that they are no longer recognizable. Now, if copyright were 20 years, he would have every right to go back and do that if he so chooses, which is great. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with fan cuts. I'm fine with director's cuts. I'm fine with any interpretation of that you want after 20 years. But copyright should not last longer than 20 years. And if we can't get that, then we need to make it so that corporations can't own copyright. Now, if you listen to the end bumper of this program, you will hear that I have a company that I hold my IP rights with. But the fact of the matter is that I am still not in favor of holding those rights longer than 20 years. In fact, if I thought anybody actually cared about those things, I would make a point of making it so that after 20 years, I automatically release them under the Creative Commons licensing format. In fact, I may still do that. But the fact of the matter is that what we're really talking about are the large, big media companies that bribe a corrupt and inept American Congress, and this needs to be added to the list of grievances of things that need to be reformed. Now, in the grand scheme of things, when we're talking about climate change or electoral reform, paying your people doesn't seem like much. But at the same time, the very fact that there are bibbling fools who think that it's okay for a corporation like Disney to own the copyright for more than 20 years tells me that they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
This has been the Tossing Grenades at Windmills podcast. Buy my book, Have Name Will Travel, at Amazon and other markets. RedAnvilCreative.com contains all our podcasts. Copyright 2020.
To fight the forces of evil!